I am not for mandatory paternity testing, but I am against men being forced to father children that aren't theirs.
Mr. Willis, what brings you in the courtroom?
I have been wondering for a long time about whether these children, whether they're mine or not, they're all so ugly.
We have 30% of men in the world raising and paying for children that aren't theirs.
So honestly, I think paternity tests should just be mandatory.
My ex-boyfriend told me that, married or not, if I ever had his baby, that he would want a DNA test before he would accept that child as his own.
So there's been an uproar because some women are saying that they're against it and some women...
No one is shocked that these women are against it. It's benefiting them the most after all. Kindly subscribe to the channel, as it is our sole form of support. Thank you.
Women will never understand how it feels like to not know whether a child is theirs or not. So honestly, I think paternity tests should just be mandatory, because men, there's too many times where men experience the kid not being theirs. And at that point, it's like, we won't ever understand that feeling. We'll never even understand the doubt. So why shouldn't it be mandatory? That's something that it should be a right.
I'm getting a lot of commentary like this saying, oh, we could fix the issue if we just had automatic paternity tests at birth. And I'm not saying I disagree with any of you, but first and foremost, no one wants to be the party to bear that burden. And I can't help but notice that most of these comments are coming from men, and I think it's important for all of you to know that this is legislation that's been discussed, and it's been largely opposed by male legislators. So if you really want something like this on the books, which I don't necessarily think is a bad idea, give your legislators a call.
I would refuse the fucking test. It baffles me that people just assume their partner is cheating on them. If you don't think it's yours, why are you with her? Paternity testing is the only way to make sure you are not paying for raising someone else's kid. Men just want any excuse to get out of parenting and supporting their children financially. I'd be so pissed if my boyfriend asked for a paternity test at birth. Like, why do you think I am cheating? I don't think the majority of men think their partner cheated on them. My mum used to tell me a man's greatest fear is that he's raising someone else's child. I really don't get it. Don't you trust your girl at all? Every one of these women has the same excuses. They all say, well, don't you trust your girl? Or, why would I cheat on you? These statements and questions are ridiculous. A man can trust his girl, but he also wants to verify. Trust is important, but so is reassurance and certainty. The number of men discovering they've been raising other men's children is only increasing. This isn't just a minor issue. It's a significant breach of trust with lifelong consequences. If a woman is denying you a paternity test, it's probably because she's guilty and wants to keep that secret hidden while you're raising a child that isn't yours. Just like this guy right here, who found out after 50 years.
We've been together for over 50 years.
Wow, 50 years.
You know, one time I came home and I pulled in the front driveway and I saw this car down the street take off because somebody came out the back door.
It was the repairman. I told you the washing machine was broken.
The results reads as follow. First child, Mr. Willis, you are not the father.
That's what I figured.
No. Oh, that's good.
Mrs.
No,
Willis.
that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Second child,
That's got to be. It's a mistake.
Mr. Willis, you are not the father.
You are reading someone else's file. This can't be true.
So I have a mailman and a plumber. Okay.
Child 3, Mr. Willis. I pray and I hope.
Please.
But you are not the father. Oh my God.
Mandatory DNA test, plain and simple. Damn 50 years, and his bloodline probably ended right there. This is why men in these days don't want marriage and relationships. It's just not worth it. I found out 14 years later my 2 kids weren't mine. Thankfully, I divorced her after 7 years. But unfortunately, the state still makes me pay child support. This is why I just stay away from dating nowadays. It's almost pointless. I just need to get a better relationship with God, and I'll be good. 50 years just went down the drain. That hurts a lot, bro. This here shows you that no matter what, women will never take accountability. It's been 50 years, and she's still playing the victim. And she's doing all that fake crying, thinking it would change something by saying, "I'm sorry." But the truth is, women aren't really sorry. She is only sorry that she got caught. No man is safe, no matter the age.
If women have been found to be lying about who's the father, and the father had paid over $10,000 for the child, should a woman do at least 5 years minimum?
That's not enough time.
My ex-boyfriend told me that, married or not, if I ever had his baby, that he would want a DNA test before he would accept that child as his own. When he told me that, I was like, what? It honestly pissed me off. We got into it. I was telling him how he made it seem like he didn't trust me and all these different things. And he was saying, no, that's not it. You don't understand because you're a woman and you would never have to question if that child is yours or not once you have it. Even if you trust someone, you could still have that small percentage of a chance that that child is truly not yours. And then he was saying how if it truly is my child, then what is the issue? Because it's going to come back positive and all will be well. And even after those arguments, I still felt icky about it. Even though I didn't like it, I did agree to it because I felt like for him, it was a level of protection and it would just validate things for him. It's also like when people talk about prenups, some people will say that they will not do a prenup because that's people betting on the marriage to fail or people going into it with the wrong intentions, which I don't think it's that. I think that at the end of the day, a prenup is protection. It's a guarantee that no matter what happens, that both parties will be okay. And I think that if we truly do love people, that we would want to put ourselves and them in positions where they can be validated, they can be protected, no matter how things go. What are your thoughts on this?
It's like asking for an STD test before getting intimate. Sure, you can be insulted, and you have the right, but it shouldn't be a problem if everything cool. Best thing a guy can say to compare is, would you check to see if the diamond on your ring is real after it's been given to you? It's just your ego hurting. DNA is actually the best thing. Women should get a DNA test too. Babies can be swapped at the hospital. I told my girl the same thing. Been together for 7 years, and I know she'd never do me like that, but it don't matter. I'm getting my test.
Paternity fraud is when a man is incorrectly identified as the biological father of a child. If you're not married and you have doubts that you're the father, make sure you do this. Do not sign the voluntary declaration of paternity. Make sure you're not on the birth certificate. If the mother files and serves a petition, request a DNA test. If you are married and you have doubts, you have 2 years from the birth of the baby to challenge paternity. After that, you'll be deemed the legal father of the child, even if DNA tests reveal later that you're not the biological father.
I think it's funny how a lot of women will say that men lie and men are pieces of shit. But why is it that 26.9% of all women have lied about paternity? Meaning they've actually pinned a child on a father that isn't theirs. And most of them have admitted doing this because they pick the more suitable father out of the men that they've been cheating with. Additionally, another study was done in the UK that 1 in 10 women don't know who the biological father is and they just take a guess. These men actually grow bonds with their children and raise them and fall in love with them, and then they ultimately find out that the child is not theirs. How sick do you have to be to do that to a man, but also to do that to your own child? It's absolutely diabolical. And the worst part about it is there's little to no consequences to the women that do this. In fact, they might get a slap on the wrist or have to pay a fine, and that's only if the father wants to sue, and most of the men don't go after her or don't do anything because they don't have the financial means to fight it in court. I mean, do what you will with this information. Okay, bye.
A lot of my friends quit the clinic for paternity testing due to the amounts of heartache they unravel with DNA testing. The rate is now nearly 50%. Even if you prove a kid isn't yours, you still have to pay child support for it. Found out my oldest daughter wasn't mine, but I still love her. POS X. Okay, with this, I 100% agree. DNA test should be done at the hospital before signing the birth certificate. It's illegal in France to have a DNA test because they're protecting women. Exactly. What they do is have multiple guys they're sleeping with and then keep that one particular guy who has good character and good manners. Basically the nice guy, the guy who would make a great dad but whom they wouldn't dare take seriously in a romantic sense. That's the kind of man these women pin these babies on after some pity sex. He's their last option because the Chads and Tyrones aren't taking them seriously. These women must have no souls to do such a thing. Just imagine what some of these men go through when they find out after 10+ years that they're not the father. They've invested emotionally, financially, and mentally in a child they believed was theirs, only to have their world shattered. The betrayal is immense, and the emotional toll is devastating.
Apparently right now there's a huge debate on whether or not paternity tests should be mandatory. A lot of women are against it, to no surprise whatsoever. A lot of them are saying that they would divorce their husband immediately if he asked them for a paternity test. And even some men are saying that it would be labeling their wife as a whore to ask for a paternity test. So I'm gonna have to disagree with the women and the men on this that are against mandatory paternity tests, because as a woman, I'm never gonna know what it feels like to question if the child is mine or not, with the exception of baby swaps in the hospitals. But how often does that happen? And also, as a woman, why wouldn't I want my child to then be swapped to ensure that that is my child after all, and then give that man peace of mind? This isn't about trust. This is just about peace of mind, because you know what? With the statistics that have come out and the data that has come out with how many women cheat in marriages and how many women cheat in general, if I was a man, I would want a paternity test for sure. In France, it's caused such a debacle that they have made it illegal. Doesn't that in itself speak volumes? I really don't see the issue with this becoming a mandatory thing for everyone to get, because then no woman would feel signaled out. It wouldn't be a personal decision. It would be just something that everyone gets. So it would give your husband peace of mind. It would give you peace of mind, because you know that your baby was not swapped at the hospital, and you wouldn't be questioning that trust aspect because everyone's doing it. So I really don't see the issue if this was a government mandate. However, if you guys still have an issue with that, then you know what? Why don't men just get the baby swabbed? I 100% think that every single man should swab their baby. I don't care if you have to do it behind her back. Swab that baby, because the risks are way too high these days. And if she's getting offended, that's a red flag, because personally, I would not care. I would not get offended. I would want the peace of mind for myself that the baby wasn't swapped at the hospital. And if I can give my husband peace of mind at the same time, why would I not do that? I have nothing to hide. If someone doesn't have anything to hide, they wouldn't care. You can be empathetic towards the male gender due to this issue that's going on with so many women tricking men into being fathers for babies that aren't theirs.
It should be mandatory before writing down the father's name on the birth certificate. No paternity test, no father on the birth certificate. Women don't want paternity test because they would lose the ability to gain free money for decades of their children and themselves. Found out one of mine wasn't mine right after his 2nd birthday. Also found out she knew the whole time. I trust my girl more than any other person on this planet, but I'm still getting one. I want to be able to stick it in a frame as a memento and something to look proudly on. That's my son-daughter. We were going to put my daughter on my insurance. They required a paternity test since we weren't married. All of a sudden, she didn't want the paternity test. If a paternity ends your marriage or relationship, then that woman wasn't actually your woman in the first place. This issue is primarily unique to men because women don't really have to worry about that, nor ask the questions. Some of these women in marriages are already looking for an excuse to divorce their husbands anyway, so they just use the fact that the husband asked for a paternity test so that they can just walk away. And speaking of peace of mind, most women don't care about giving their man a peace of mind. As long as their needs are met, that's pretty much what concerns them. As a man, it is really important that you choose and have a good woman by your side.
All that work and what did it get me?
I just think women nowadays just want to be victim. Like, I've never heard a girl come on a show and just say, you know what, that relationship was my fault.
Oh, there was a story today I was reading in the Daily Mail, and it was a woman crying because her fiance left her and said it was my fault because I wouldn't listen to why he was upset and I was too stubborn to compromise, and now he's gone.
Yeah, and it made news headlines.
It made
Where from 5 to 30% of the general population, men are raising and paying for children that are not theirs and don't know. According to the American Association of Blood Banks, between 25 and 30% of the males who are accused of being the father, they take a paternity test and find out they did not do it.
Are you for mandatory DNA testing at birth?
I am absolutely on record as saying that if we want to prevent the problem of having men challenge paternity later down the road, then let's apply a proactive solution. Automatic DNA testing at birth would work to help two things. One, we would assure that the right parents were named on the birth certificate. Two, it would stop paternity fraud and take the profit out of paternity fraud.
But so many women's groups say this wouldn't be fair, you're acting like you don't trust the mother. Why do you think they say that?
It's a red herring. It takes away from the focus of, well, who's the one person who has all of the information about potential fathers or the paternity candidates? It is the child's mother. And currently, in most places, she has no duty to disclose that, well, wait a minute. Well, my husband's not really my child's father. My boyfriend is. Like, well, wait, lady. But you're married. You forgot that you were married? No.
It's also a health issue. Genetics plays a key role in health care of the child. They need to know their parents. As a child support enforcement officer, I am all for this. 110%. Fully agree. I was swindled and my state doesn't care. Even when the mum said she wasn't mine and she didn't have her I did, I was made to pay her. In many states, even if he's not the father, he still has to pay child support. So the state doesn't have to pay for benefits. It's a trap. This is a solution that can save many heartaches, pain, tears, and stress. Despite this, some women are still against it. At that point, you can also assume they're only in it for two things: getting money and ruining an innocent man's life in the process. Paternity tests provide clarity and prevent unnecessary emotional and financial burdens. By opposing these tests, women reveal their lack of concern for fairness and transparency. Men have the right to protect themselves and ensure that they are not being deceived.
So I get asked why guys aren't helping girls anymore, and I have a perfect example of why. So first off, don't yell at us for opening the door. That's the reason why we don't open the door anymore. But I saw this thing on the news that is the perfect example, exactly why men do not help you anymore. So this lady was getting attacked in New York, and the guy gets out of his truck, fights off the attacker. The attacker then pulls out a gun and shoots the guy. The police show up, and the lady then says, no, that guy got out of his truck and attacked me, and the boyfriend shot him in defense. But when the police questioned witnesses and the videotapes of nearby businesses, they saw the truth, and then the lady finally confessed that, yeah, the boyfriend was attacking her, and the guy defended her, and the boyfriend then shot him. This is the reason why men aren't helping women anymore. We get lied and disrespected so much that it's not worth the risk of us being in trouble for attempting to help.
At work, I tried to help a lady find her purse, and she calls the cops on me. The cameras show an elderly lady taking her purse while she was at the bathroom. I hold doors long enough for them to get it before it closes. I still go in first. There are no good women anymore. They all want the BBD, the bigger, better deal. They are not happy with a loyal, hard-working man. Feminists and ultra-leftist liberals, they have ruined everything. Well, men aren't helping because it's not worth their freedom, and they also want to be respectful in today's context of gender equality. Things were different in the past when women were more feminine and genuinely appreciated and respected men. Back then, men had no issues lending a hand or opening a door because it was a mutually respectful dynamic. But since women have told men countless times they could do it by themselves, and they hear about how women preach about not needing men, they've just backed away in peace.